Good morning, good day, students. Welcome to COIL. So basically, what we will doing in terms of COIL, we will be collaborating online internationally on a project which is called Women, Who Women Are, a context in the arts, right? So I am Ms. Tsholofelo Tshabadira. You guys can call me Tsulu, a lecturer in design and visual art in the Faculty of Humanities. So just to give you a brief introduction about myself, I've already said that I'm a lecturer. I'm a Master of Design candidate. I'm a graphic designer. I'm also a member of the European International Educators Association. I'm also the Faculty of Humanities COIL champion, right? So I can speak English, Afrikaans, Sesotho, Setswana, and Sizulu. So one fact about me, I would say that I'm a very exploring person. I love outgoing events. Yeah, and also as you can see with my photo, I just love design. So let's go into femicide in South Africa. So for those that don't know what femicide is, so femicide is generally understood to involve international murder of women because they are women, right? So femicide is usually perpetrated by men, but sometimes female family members may be involved. So in most cases of femicide are committed by partners, ex-partners involved on ongoing abuse in the home, threats, or intimidation, sexual violence, or situations where women have less power or fewer resources than their partner. Currently in South Africa, it's still that way, but I'm sure it's like that within the rest of the country, is that the male figure is more dominant. In other traditional cultures, as I've mentioned, that I can speak most of the languages in South Africa. Mind you, we have 11 languages. So in the Zulu, isiXhosa, and then Setswana and some, and Sesotho, you find that the only person that has a say in the family is the male figure, which is like that, okay? So, and then I've also added a little bit of stats so that you can understand that South Africa is facing a huge toll in terms of femicide. Almost 50% of the assaults were committed by someone close, such as a friend or acquaintance, 22%, or a spouse or intimate partner, or a relative, an uncle in the family. And sometimes these things, they start at a very young age, whereby you would see your uncle as your role model, and they're not knowing that your uncle can, sexually assault you, okay? So this also happens, it doesn't mean that it's only has to do with abuse. For example, when you come to a certain beach or in a part of a certain country, men will look at you in some way or another. Some of them would even, spank your butt. This is something that I've also experienced myself. And I was so intrigued. I was like, okay, what is going on now? So mostly I can say that this is something that happens, but people don't know, or, even if they feel uncomfortable, they wouldn't even put it across that this is actually wrong. And some people think it's okay. Some men would pull you by your hand. So these are the things that are ongoing. So for some that are doing it, just know that it's wrong. Women are jewels and they should be treated correctly. We also experience this in the work environment, whereby, male figures would have sexual gestures to you. You'll try by all means to, be professional, but it sometimes it gets out of hand and they become more persistent in terms of that. So it's something that us as women, I'm not saying with me per se, but you know, it's a lot of women that are going through all that. So now, femicide in South Africa is generally understood to involve intentional murder of women because they are women. I think I've went through this slide before. Sorry about that. So context art, right? Because now we're doing women, we're doing who women are in context art, right? So I just wanted to give you an insight on what is context art. So context consists of all the things about the artwork that might have influenced the artwork or the maker, right? You as an artist. These would include when the work was made, where it was made, culturally and geographically, why it was made, and possibly some other details or information. So this is what we're going to share to you. Prof. Pease has already shared with you, you know, about context art, you know, in South America, in North America, actually, in South America, actually. So what, you know, women go through in Argentina and all these other things. And then when we're coming to contextualism, so contextualism, looking at the cultural context of an artwork can deepen or improve our understanding of an artwork, but it may or may not change the first impression, and it doesn't really have an effect on formal analysis, okay? So with some additional contextual information about the time, the culture, and the maker, or even artist of an artwork, we can become more informed. So it's just informing you about the artwork, about the nitty-gritties of it. So all artworks exist in context. More accurately, all artworks exist in multiple contexts, okay? For example, you can have an artwork that depicts something else, but it will end up meaning another thing, you know, ambiguity, have a double meaning. Okay, so the viewer context in this regard is that context also has to do with the viewer. So what do I see? For example, if I see a picture of a woman draped in blood, I might think that this person was going through a very deep feeling or very intense feeling that they were going through, or it can mean that they actually experienced that form, or it can mean that, you know, what they're portraying to you is just in a form of artwork that's presented, okay? So it can have different meanings. It depends on how you interpret it. So for example, when a person in Paris in the 1890s looked at the Van Gogh painting, how that painting looked and felt and seemed to her was very different from an American viewer looking at the same painting today. So what are we talking, what are we saying in terms of that? Maybe you are from, you know, America, okay, and then you have someone from Africa. So when they're looking at your artwork, they might interpret it differently. So this is just basically what it means, okay? So, but I'm going to show you a few artworks by designers on what they've portrayed in that. So when thinking about a viewer's context, it's useful to think about the following, since all of them can affect how person sees or responds to an artwork: time, culture, nationality, gender. I've highlighted on gender because our main thing now is that we're going to be focusing on who women are, right? So we've already talked about femicide in South Africa. Women are associated with femicide, okay? We've had a lot of, you know, killings that were happening. There's one, a lady who was killed at a post office. She was just going there to you know, to post something or maybe to collect something, if I can recall correctly. And she was a first year at UCT, which is the University of Cape Town. And then this man just saw that, okay, this is an opportunity for me to rape her or something. And then they end up killing her there and then. So her name was Uyinene, right? So there's also a foundation that has been opened for her. But it's really a sad story. You get another story of Karabo Mokoena, who was actually torched by her partner. Actually, of the partner killed her in their apartment and then dragged her in a bin, took her out, and then went and set her alight, you know. So it's really intense stories, but let's dwell into a more positive, you know, field of art. So this is Me or Nkgono Esther Mahlangu. She is born in 1935. So I'm sure you must know her. She's very famous for her Ndebele artwork. She was awarded for excellent contribution to the Department of Indigenous Ndebele Arts. I used her work because it's a much more globally known work. Maybe you guys have found out about her on the awesome work that she's doing. She has created her own Ndebele, you know, artwork. So it says there, Esther Mahlangu was born in the 1935 on a farm near Middelburg in Mpumalanga, right? In the tradition of Ndebele, Mahlangu was taught how to paint by her grandmother and a mother at the age of 10. Can you imagine? That's why she's doing all this work. And then now we're going off to the collaborations that she's done with different companies. So to be exact with this one, the multi-award winning visual artist Esther Mahlangu has unveiled a customized Rolls-Royce Phantom adorned with her traditional Ndebele artwork in Cape Town. She is the first South African to create a painting for the Melrose Gallery inside a new Phantom. And guess what? She's 84-year-old, self-taught artist, and is known for her bold, large-scale contemporary art. So which is good. In 1991, she became the first African and first female artist to paint a BMW art car, following in the footsteps of the likes of Andy Warhol and the others, right? So Esther Mahlangu mentors, she's a woman and she mentors young people and elders how to mix pigments, paint straight lines, freehand and without sketches using their fingers or chicken feathers, right? Can you believe it? So these are the mediums or the tools that she used to, you know, to educate the young mentors and the elders as well. So she's executed it very well. She's also collaborated with Belvedere, with John Legend, the musician. So they've collaborated with the celebrated Ndebele artist, Esther Mahlangu, to design the colorful, bold bottle inspired by the campaigns for values, security, support, change, and unity, okay? As you can see right there. And then now the latest that has happened is that the South African legendary Ndebele artist Esther Mahlangu was honored with a street mural spanning across 2 lanes on Franklin Street and West Broadway in Tribeca, New York City, right? So please go check that out if you are near that area. The artwork dedicated to her outstanding Ndebele-inspired paintings was named Ola, which means stay in peace, right? The painting featured Ndebele symbols designed by New York artist Imani Shanklin Roberts. Okay, and then it just credits the photographer. So you can have a look at her Facebook page as well. So now we go off to another female artist, which is Lebo Toka. So she's more aligned with our theme. The previous artist was just showing you the tribal art of Ndebele, okay, which is done by older women. I thought maybe we should start off with her so that you can see the difference in terms of the artwork that's portrayed. So Lebo Toka, born in 1996, is a photographer and artist who was born and raised in Johannesburg, South Africa. She has since had a solo exhibition and hosted a talk with David Crute Gallery. In 2018, she won a Laurie Award. She has been a part of the Addis Photo Fest based in Ethiopia and has had her work featured in the Washington Post and the New York Times online platforms. Her work is mainly influenced by being a feminist and covers topics such as femicide, okay? So that's why I actually let you in on what is femicide in South Africa. So navigating South Africa as Black women, as well as Black female existence in proximity to the topics such as religion, history versus present day, etc. So remember what I said about contextualism and contextual art, right? But you can always go back with the video, rewind back on what was said. So the themes that they had going on at the art gallery or art exhibition was focused morely on mourning the shadows, right? A reflection of Women's Day. That's what we're trying to bring in. So this is a photograph of what is depicted here, right? So it's published courtesy of National Museum Publications. So what these images mean is that they're saying her gaze is unwavering. Each aspect of the work feels intentional. Her hands. So now we're starting to analyze the artwork that's presented in front of us. Her hands clutch 3 matchsticks, as you can see there with the first figure, okay? The black plastic rubbish bag covering her body references the dump side where her remains laid. Remember, previously I let you know about Karabo Mokoena. Maybe she had in mind about all the ladies that have been tortured. She's not the only lady that has been tortured by her boyfriend or a partner or fiance. So the black plastic, symbolizes that, where her remains lay. Toka's work sensitively reveals the conditions of Mokwena's passing while also drawing on religious iconography in this narrative piece, right? As you can see there, maybe you can relate it to religion aspects. Entrenched and moralized, Karabo Moroka is more than a victim. She's a woman remembered. So this whole story went on and on for weeks because now the boyfriend was denying that he was there. Once it was found out that he was the one who had actually killed Karabo, it was really a sad story. And when they actually went to the site, her remains had already perished. So it's a very emotional thing or emotional trauma that families go through, which is not something anyone would wish it on any other one, but some people are cruel out there. But this is something that we're living with on a daily basis, such as gender-based violence, where men always seem to be abusing their women if their women are not doing a certain thing, or maybe the man might be drunk coming home from their friends and then they'll just start beating up the woman. So we have a next one. Remember what our theme is, right? So Talente Nkomo honors the memory of her late grandmother. So this one is related to the passing of her grandmother. So in Umnikelo 2019, okay? So the loss of Nkomo's family matriarch has deeply felt since her passing in 2004. In the striking photographic image, a red uniform is gently held in the hands outstretched, concealing the figure behind. So as you can see there with that uniform, that is worn by elderly women who have joined a certain church association, right? So, but this is in the Methodist Church, is done also at the Anglican Church as well. They call it, in the Anglican Church, they call it Mother's Union. And then in the Methodist, I can't really remember what it's called, but it's a certain association that older women join just so that they can be uplifted, so that they can pray all together as one, okay? And then where was I? In the striking photographic image, a red uniform is gently held in the hands outstretched, concealing the figure behind. Nkomo's grandmother was a woman of devout faith. The carefully folded cloth represents the iconic attire worn by the members of, yes, I was correct, by the members of the Methodist Church of Southern Africa, right? So usually what they'll do is when maybe this grandmother has passed away and you know the grandmother always worn that uniform, it will be passed on the family members. Some what with my grandmother we did, we actually, or I'd say my mother clothed her in her, you know, in her faith membership clothing as well. So she wore it till death because, I mean, she's a member of it. With some, they actually hand it over to the family so that they can keep it. With some, it's a flag. You know, if you're working for the government, they'll give the widow the flag as well, or the family members. It differs, right? So as a religious woman who worked in the domestic service, Nkomo has found memories of falling asleep to her grandmother singing gospel songs. The title of the piece translates to offering. The work pays homage to a beloved elder who lived her life in the service of others. So umnikelo means paying homage, okay, to your loved one. Captures what the artist calls the spiritual side of shadows, tracing a trajectory of grief and catharsis and cleansing. So after one has passed away or your grandmother's passed away, there's a certain period of time that you have to go through the cleansing. With some, you have to cleanse, you know, with aloe water. Some they have to cut, if it's an uncle, they cut the hair, but it differs between cultures as well. So the other one is Kimati Mafafo is connected to her mother and grandmother through the medium of her work, right? As you can see there. Mafafo challenges historical stereotypes around gender inequality. So that's another, you know, sorry for another day, but I've already highlighted to you when we started with our presentation that in some other cultures, the male is more dominant. The male is the one calling the shots. The woman is not supposed to be saying anything. Just that now it's gradually moving away, but you know, in some other cultures, it's still very intense, which is something that is done. So Mafafo challenges historical stereotypes around gender equality in South Africa, which perpetuate the conditions for intimate partner violence. In the work, in the figure of a woman is cloaked and alone. She foregrounds the white cloth, as you can see there, that white cloth, the white cloth of a draped and translucent veil, right? A confetti of delicate blooms surrounds her. The alluring, lush and abundant landscape offers a utopic alternative to the painful realities faced by many. Let us mourn the loss we have endured and honor the memory of women who even death are still dignified. So that's very deep because women, like I said, women are jewels, women are caregivers, women have warmth. So imagine if a woman were to die in terms of gender-based violence, as they mentioned there, okay? And then, but also cherishing those still among us. So, which means we must embrace women. So that's the next theme that's coming through. So they're interlinked with or interconnected with each other, right? So went for the more positive when we started with Nkgono Esther Mahlangu, then we went to the more femicide, and now we're moving into embracing women. So together there's hope that we can heal. To quote the poet Rami, the wound is the place where the heart enters you. Okay, that's so much profound words. So I added a little bit stats so that you can get an insight. This is based on gender-based violence. So 2,300 calls for help were made to South African police. So which means that South African police, most of the time, they don't respond to these calls that women are getting abused. So 21 women and kids or children were killed by intimate partners. During the lockdown, remember lockdown when we had COVID, women had nowhere to go because remember, some of the women, they wake up in the morning, they get to work, and then they get back only late in the later hours. So now when it's COVID, the woman is there, she needs to do all these, or by her husband, actually. She must do all these wifely duties, and then the man can maybe just drink and go out with his friends, and then when he comes back, he's a totally different person. So normative gender roles and the unequal power dynamics perpetuated by patriarchy society are some of the root causes of gender-based violence, meaning that in most communities, the women aren't supported. People are afraid to get involved because, for example, what happens in SA a lot more often, but normally this happens in the rural and locations, okay? We call them the locations, this side. Not really, maybe sometimes in the urban areas. You would get involved when this man is abusing this woman. And then the following day, these people are all lovey-dovey, things are all fine, and now you are looking like a person who wants to separate that couple. That is something that I've also experienced within my family, is that when these two couples are fighting, or this couple is fighting, to not get involved, because after that, they'll be all good, things will be fine, and then you'll be left with this burden on your back. So the highest rate of femicide in the world, the pandemic has created even deeper fissures of poverty, inequality, and unemployment in South Africa, right? Because most of these women, they do not work. I've also read, maybe it's in a particular study, whereby mostly women are struggling and most women are not working. Another thing that I forgot to mention, in some other cultures, I'll always refer to some other cultures because not all these cultures do it. The woman is supposed to take care of the kids. Even in the Western cultures, it's like that. But now in the Black cultures, the woman has to work, has to take care of the kids. You know, in the Western culture is much more different, even when the woman takes care of the kids, but they can maybe get a nanny, maybe go out for a spa or go out with friends. But in the Black culture is something totally different for some. The woman would always be taking care of the kids. The woman must have the food ready, right? For their husband when they get back from work. If that is not done, then all hell breaks loose. Then it's a whole different story. That's where the gender-based violence starts acting upon, right? That you didn't do this, you didn't do that. So that's a topic for another day. Let me not keep you long. So this is on a lighter note and on a very, embracing note, that this artist, Marilee van Rensburg, she is alumni at the CUT. She used to be one of my students. So she's an artist in the Bloemfontein. She's a postgrad student in design technology. She's also a graphic designer and an artist based in Bloemfontein and currently working at a museum, right? So look at her work. So she said that she's embracing woman femininity, right? So that's her Instagram. You can go and check out of her work. She's doing great work. So Marilee van Rensburg. She's based in Bloem. Here's another one on embracing woman femininity, which is a ballpoint pen art. Okay. And then I love this one because she said it represents perfect completion, fullness, and being complete. It is also a resurrection and divinity, right? So I said that the symbolism of the art in triplicate, it is learning what you do not know, crying out to God for something you urgently need. The now hidden lines, lilies there at the back, in traditional Christian iconography, signifies passing from death into eternal life and the new world to come, or state of perfection. Remember, with Christ being on the cross, there's always, I think in the Roman Catholic, there's always like maybe a halo there at the back. So she created that aspects there. And then now this is the much more interesting one. This is what some women are still doing even today. So the part of Trippiag named Faith, Hope, and Love. Hope made her way to the Netherlands. Well, now she's talking about the painting. Made her way to the Netherlands, while Faith and Love remained on the African continent. That's deep. Faith and Love turn into birds of paradise and reciting by the sea at present. So women till this day are still the anchors, are still the pillars. They carry their world or the world on their hands. They are nurturers, you know, they are comforters. They are just naturals that we can't live without. So let's embrace women. And let's also keep in mind of our theme that who are women? We must ask yourself, who are you? Because we are women, not that we are isolating men, but this is what you must think of, reflect on, think of what your mothers are doing, what your sisters are doing with this particular project. You know, so many aspects to think of. Remember, I showed you the more positive aspect when we started with Nkgono Esther Mahlangu about the Ndebele art, tribal art. Then we move off to homicide, and now we're moving off to embracing women. So we need to embrace women in the form of art. So thank you very much. This is the end of our session. I hope you enjoyed all the literature and all the images that you've seen. And I hope to see you soon. And I hope that you enjoy this project. Remember, treat this project with a lighter a mode or a lighter aspect, because I trust that you will do well. Thank you very much. Bye.